Assalamu alaikum. Welcome you all to this discussion today. Today we have Mrs. Shirian Guia. She is a paraprofessional at Clark County School District. Mrs. Shirian, I would like to welcome you to special childcare discussion.
Oh, thank you so much.
Right. So today, actually, we'll be talking about special education and basically sustainability in learning. I mean, how can we make learning sustainable? Because in our experience, we have seen in most of the cases, we find that, of course, like children with special needs, they have problem with learning. They have different kinds of learning disabilities, right? And one thing we find that they show their performance in learning in different places and different times in a different ways. Okay, for example, the way they exhibit their performance in school, sometimes they fail to do that at home, right? Now,
Right.
why that happens? Is it because we fail to make that environment at home, or they find some place as like in a comfort zone or something like this? That we'll be talking about. And we will also talking about, our discussion will not be limited to academic learning, of course, because learning as a whole, right? Learning means academic as well as like life skills, right? So, Mr. Shirian, would you please share with us with your experience as you work, in such a school for a long time, and why it happens?
Um, well, it depends. Sometimes, the learner himself or herself is unable to absorb or sustain what is taught. But a lot of the time it's based on how you're teaching. For example, there are different ways of learning, and that means or lasting learning, or doing things that the child will retain whatever is taught. So, so for example, you have to teach the meaningful context or impact on different topics. Do a practical application, or design environment. There's so many things that needs to be done. So, like for example, for a child to retain things, it depends on the learner himself, or you can say the classroom or the home, the school, the environment, the physical plan, what is going on when you're teaching the child. So the way in which we do it, we have the IEP in place, but then we have individual learning, like one-on-one learning. So for example, you're going to teach the child to say, any academic work. You work on with them one-on-one. And like, for example, you're teaching the child how to, to eat or to drink from a cup, or and that would be like maybe at home, or how to use a pencil. You will use the child's hold the child's hand, show him how to hold the spoon or the pencil, or how to open the door, or you will do that one-on-one with the child.
Yeah.
And then we also do it in a group setting. Like, for example, we're sitting together eating lunch, or we would tell all the children, okay, this is how you hold your spoon, this is how you hold your pencil, or we're doing a group center time, this is how you hold your pencil. So the child is not only getting a one-on-one, he's getting it also in a group setting. So, and also like support, physical support. So for a child with special needs, we go the extra mile, you can say, to help that child um, develop the skill needed. Um, and then we have this accountability. That means you will make sure, accountability meaning you are accountable for what you're doing. Also accountability, the child is accountable of what he or she is doing. So you have all these things going on at school. But when the child goes home, you will see that the parents usually forget, the child is being taught these things at school. Maybe we should reinforce it at home. So as you see, we have the curriculum in place. We have the teacher doing the same thing. Now we need the parents to get involved. So that means we need to have a relationship. That teacher-parent relationship is really, really very important. For example, we're teaching the child to do a skill. We need, us the teachers are doing that. We need to inform the parent that, okay, we're working on this and we need your help. So when you go home, please reinforce this skill with your child so that he is doing the same thing at school and the same thing at home. Then his learning does not end. It's just reinforced at home. So the possibility of him mastering that skill becomes bigger instead of limited to school only. And then you need to empower the parent too. Like, for example, you need to make sure that the parent has whatever is needed to establish that or to carry out that. So whatever materials the parents may need, any visuals the parents may need, to make sure that the child is getting whatever needed. So sometimes we would give them supplies or, give them coaching on how we want them to do it. So that's the way it's done. But, of course, it doesn't have to be exactly how it's done at school. I mean, most parents may want to do things the way they feel comfortable with, or doing. So I would think that parents have also a lot to do with the child's progress. So if you find that a child goes home and does not at all, get any help needed, then you will find, okay, that child will not be, making much progress, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
So
also the environment in the home, you would find that since we have different things at school, like, we have desk, we have, a blackboard, we have all these things at school. I think the parents should have like a special space in the home where the child is able to use that space, that environment, for the purpose of learning. So that means, life skills can be anything, that it's either, how to use the restroom, how to eat, how to drink. But if that child knows that this is my space, then he would know that, okay, we're going to go there, we're going to work there. And after that, then we can have free play. So we have a structured area where, okay, yes, this is what we need to have. And you can design it in a way that that child is able to adapt in that environment. So you will have like maybe an easel with some chalk, some, markers, different things, because this is what he sees at school,
Yeah.
or she sees at school. So it's easier for them to deal with at home.
Okay, so what you have, focused on that for maintaining sustainable learning, the
Mhm.
way we teach both in school and at home, that's
Yeah.
really important. That's really
Yes.
important, right? And we
Mhm.
need to make a simulation of the school kind of thing, that environment at home as well. And
Mhm.
if possible, if possible means actually we need it. That is, we need to create a kind of, that child friendly, learning friendly space, so the child, I mean, doesn't get shocked that there's a change from school and home,
Mhm.
the shift
Right.
to school and home, right? And
Right.
with the equipment, as you said, that we need to have maybe not 100%, but the equipment and the material for the child, right? And
Mhm.
the space for him, kind of comfort zone for him, right?
Right.
Because
Mhm.
studies also say that special children don't like big, like jump or shift. From place to
Right.
this, right, right.
Mhm.
So, and also you focused on parents' involvement. They need to give time to children. They need to know
Yes.
what's going on at school. They need to
Mhm.
carry on. It means that for us, like parents, we need to remember that school is not the end.
Mhm.
Okay, my son comes back from school doesn't mean the whole day's work finished. No, that is one
No.
part. Another equally important part at home.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The way to look at it is like you have a plant, for example.
Hmm.
That plant needs everything to survive. So whether that plant is at school or that plant is at home, it still needs the necessity, the important things like water and soil and
Yeah.
air and sun. It needs everything. So we are that air and soil and everything that it needs. And the child is the plant. So if you don't nurture that plant, it's not going to be healthy. It's going to eventually die, or it's going to be weak. It's going to be so it's like that. We need to help them in any way possible to survive and to grow. It's if you don't give whatever is needed for that, for that child to grow, he will not grow. He it will just remain at a certain point where it's unhealthy and not good at all.
So can we just, hypothetically, can we jump to the drastic conclusion that if a parent or if parents completely fail to give support at home, if they think that school is enough, only school is enough, because why I'm telling us this, that I know some parents, they are so busy with their work, maybe both of them work, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they can't give time. They're giving money to the school, but see school like 4 hours maybe a day, five
Mm-hmm.
days a week, right? So most of the
Yeah.
time children are at home. So can we come to the
Right.
conclusion that if the family fail to give any kind of support, if they think that only school is enough, that not gonna work at all?
I mean, it's. I mean, of course, he's getting some help
Some,
at home,
yeah,
at
some
school,
development maybe.
but it's important at home to follow up and to continue that learning process, so that in the long run, the child needs to be able to function in the society. So it needs as much help as possible to achieve that, so that they are able to sustain themselves and um, you know take care of themselves. um, a lot of families think they cannot do it, but I don't know, in Bangladesh, you live with a larger family, structures. It's not that you live alone. So you have other family members. So it's important that the whole family gets involved. That means if there's a grandparent in the house, or if there is a brother in the house who's older, of course the mom and dad is there. Then if there's an older sibling who can help with that learning process, it will be really helpful. And a lot of people undermine grandparents, but they actually do help out a lot in terms of it's really important to children really don't learn in one just by talking to them. They learn by physically doing something,
Yeah.
or physically or visually seeing something. So it's not really necessary to just always, oh, you have to sit down, you can take the child to the kitchen and show him different things.
I mean,
So
involving them in daily activities.
yes, it's
Not
real.
like that simulation. I mean, only the toys and plays or therapy. No, no, it's not
Yeah,
the only way.
it's not only that, and also it's as I mentioned before, environment in the home, in a special space, that's one way of doing things. But you have to have also the concept, okay, I'm going to go to the restroom and I'm going to teach you how to brush your teeth, or
Yeah.
how to do things, because sometimes the grandparents could be reading a book to the child, or so if the whole family gets involved, then it's 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 going to be easy for him to retain different things, um, and a lot of the time people don't have patience also.
Yeah.
um,
Of course.
they think, okay, I it's not working the first time, so I'm not going to do it again. But you have to have patience in these type of situations where um, if the child doesn't do it the first time, that doesn't not necessarily mean that he's not going to do it the second time. So you need to have patience and keep trying
Yeah.
to do things so that the child will eventually learn how to do it. And repetition, 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 that's the key, really.
Yeah.
You have to keep repeating things so that the child eventually gets it.
Unfortunately, as you said, I mean, Bangladesh was before. I mean, that was actually the family structure before. We had larger family. I mean, many people living together in the same house, and that would be really helpful for developing such children. But unfortunately, now, I mean, you can like divide Bangladesh into two parts. Like one is the capital Dhaka, and another is other part of the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Dhaka has been developed, like most of the jobs are here, most of the people are here. It's a densely populated place. And here, basically, the families are small families, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
leave their place, I mean, their family behind for job and or other purposes like business. And what I was telling you that, and many parents who have such kind of children, they need to work here, and most of the cases, both of them need to work, right? So they just
Mm-hmm.
leave their children at school, and when they come back home, they're also tired, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, as you are, I mean, you are working there, you know that working with such children is not easy after the
Yes.
day's work, right? Somebody
Mm-hmm.
working the whole day, huge traffic jam, and when they come back, I'm talking about the reality actually, right?
Right.
So many of them want, but many of them can't, I mean, do that. They don't have the energy to and
Mm-hmm.
that patience, right? So that has
Right.
been a big challenge. And sometimes our physicians, our experts, they advise us, okay, leave that, go back, your child will develop. That is also not practically possible in many
Mm-hmm.
of the cases because money is also important.
Mm-hmm.
The money
Yes.
they get in Dhaka city, they want to get it in the village, right? So this has been the
Mm-hmm.
paradox actually in Bangladesh, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else you want to add?
Um, you know, uh, I think another thing is adapting to the change.
Yeah.
You know, parents, I know it's really difficult with a child with special needs, but I think they also have to adapt,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
and they also have to know the limits also. Um, teaching teaching a special needs child is a very tedious job. It's not something that you can, it will get done in once or twice.
Yeah.
I mean, even for regular students, it's very, very difficult for them to sustain or to retain things. So having a child with special needs, it's even worse. So it's important that you you know, you keep working at it. Whatever you need to teach this child, you have to keep doing it over and over again. Um, and also you also have to know the limit and how much you can do when you're at home too.
Right. Right.
They also need to play. They need to have downtime. So don't think that when they get home that you have to spend the entire time that they're home on learning. No, it's just you need to know that limit also, because they did go to school and spend the 4 hour 5 hours learning that, you know, learning. So they need also time for themselves, and you
Some
know, to
relaxing time.
relax and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I mean, there's so many different ways now of learning. So I mean, a lot of people use technology. A lot of people use, you know, go back to chalk and board on a
Yeah.
board, um, paper and pen. So I mean, there's so many things that you can use for learning, and go back to, you know, a lot of times kids with special needs do well with art. um, they, if you want to teach them something, um, they really like to do it in an artsy way. So maybe sometimes that would help.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I have just lost one question.
Sure.
Is, I mean, that's also kind of repetition that you focused on the empowerment that, I mean, the parents must be empowered. I mean, they must
Mm-hmm.
be convinced, first of all, as you said. I gave you the example of Dhaka City. And
Mm-hmm.
as you said, that they also need to know, and this is a very important thing. So they need to
Mm-hmm.
adapt. For example, if both of them work, I mean, that is husband and wife, they can make a kind of schedule that some of them,
Right.
you know, give time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. And or if they can't give time, they can depend on the, you know, I mean, that is on some device or ASC. Yeah, I mean, if recommended.
Right.
Now, empowering parents, like, see, I mean, we have many parents. They are great, or they are highly educated in their own field, maybe PhD in some
Mm-hmm.
areas, but they may not have. It's very normal that they may not have, I mean, knowledge in this area until unless they have such child. Right? He's a
Mm-hmm.
pharmacist, okay, but he
Right.
doesn't know much about this one. Now, how can we empower parents, or how can we be empowered? As I'm also a parent, uh, do you think school has a role in this? I mean,
Um,
school can take some programs, or how? I mean, with
so
training.
one of the thing is the parent teacher relationship is really very important. Um, we have a fixed curriculum, for example. So we have, for 6 weeks, we focus on a particular thing. So let's say like we're doing ocean animals, for example. So we go through that 6 weeks of, you know, ocean animals. We do different projects dealing with the ocean, stuff like that. Now you are sending home artwork and different projects that you have done at school with ocean related things. Now, the parents would not feel like it's important to figure out, okay, what's going on. But by us telling the parent, hey, we're going to be, for the next 6 weeks, we're going to be dealing with ocean animals and, everything relating to the sea. So if you want, you could probably get some sand, put some seashells on there, you know, get a boat, fill the tub with some water, this type of things to do at home, so that your child is learning about the ocean at home as well. So this is how you empower the parent. You just give them ideas on how to do things at home. And it's an ongoing thing. So every 6 weeks, we have a new project, a new curriculum thing. So this way we tell them, okay, hey, we're dealing with the forest next, the jungle next 6 weeks. Or we're dealing with shapes and numbers. We're dealing with different things every 6 weeks. So, hey, can you please work with these things with your child at home, so that, and it's not something that you have to go out there and buy something. You can use things that are home already.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on in
Affordable
school?
things.
Parents need to relate, or parents need to connect. For example,
Yes.
as you said that they are working on like the learning. I mean, sea animals or forest, right? And even at home, I mean, we can run. I mean, the National Geographic Channel, maybe.
Yeah.
So the child can relate. Okay, this is I learned at school, right?
Right.
Speed of correlation.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's how you it's a big thing. This is what sustainable learning means, really, that you teach something in so many different ways so the child keeps it. It's not like you teach it now and the child forgets about it. you know you have children who you teach them for the entire school week, and then they go home, they forget everything because it's just a weekend. And then you have they go to the whole entire school year, and then they have summer vacation, and then they forget everything. But if you do things in a way that the child never forgets what he have learned, then this is how you make them powerful, because this way you are teaching them things that they will never forget, and that's how you teach them, like all the time. You teach them like visually, this is what the ocean looks like, you know um, and you hand them a toy saying that this is a whale, this lives in the ocean.
Yeah,
So this way they physically hold something that lives in the ocean.
yeah.
Visually they see the sea,
Mhm.
you know they feel the sand, so they will never forget what ocean is, or what the sea is, what the beach is. So you have made it possible and sustainable that they have learned everything about that.
So you mean like, teaching the same skill or same object or same topic from different angles and in
Yes.
different settings. For
Yes.
example, when talking about sea, if possible, taking them to the sea beach and
Right.
try to connect them, right? So
Yeah.
the teaching should not be confined within the four walls of the school.
No, of course not.
In everyday life, in
Yeah.
daily life,
Yeah. Yes.
practically.
And it, like, for example, you go home and you're learning about the ocean, then you cook. Bengalis like fish, right?
Yeah,
So you
always
you
it's a
cook
must.
some fish and say, "Hey, the fish came from the
Yeah,
ocean." I
right.
mean,
Exactly.
yes, yeah,
Exactly. That's why this point actually came to my mind. I mean, sustainable learning, because especially, for example, speech therapy or something, right? For example, mango in Bengali, mango is
yeah,
right? I think you know it.
yes,
So suppose child, I mean, when the therapist try and make him say okay,
yes,
showing the photo. Now the child comes back just after 2 3 hours, 1 hour. and he really sees the real mango there because it's now the season, right? For example,
Right.
and he can't relate. He has no idea about it. Even you have the prompt, what is this? He
Mm-hmm.
just saw the photo like 1 hour before and he pronounced the word to the
Right.
therapist, speech
Mm-hmm.
therapist. Now he failed to do that. In that case, this learning is not useful learning,
Right.
not at all, right?
Yeah.
You need
It
that
just can't be one
reinforcement.
track. You can't be one track because I mean some children will get it right away. You know, the first time you mention something, they'll
Mhm.
get it. But what about a child who needs so many avenues
Yeah,
to help him learn the same thing and you don't give them that avenue? You know, it's going to be it's going to be so sad because the child is not getting it.
yeah,
And that's that would be a failure on the part of, you know, the teacher, the, you know, the school, the community, everything, you
yeah,
know,
true.
because you have not done everything that's needed for that child to learn that particular thing.
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, I mean, we'll come back to you again and again. I will be disturbing you more. I mean, because as we have decided, we'll be talking on, I mean, different topics, like, topic-based sessions we'll have, right?
Sure.
So I think that was very, I mean, today's was very, I mean, clear and helpful that we need a kind of, I mean, holistic approach actually to
Yes.
for sustainable learning. Thank you very much for your time and your effort and for staying with us. And inshallah, we'll come back to you and we'll have more meetings with you, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.